Morning, everyone. Ed Bates again from Kilworth Chiropractic Clinic, and welcome to today's Daily Dose. Now, as we've discussed on previous videos, sleep as one of the four pillars of health is crucial for your health and your well-being. And a lack of sleep has been associated with any number of illnesses and health challenges, from heart disease to cancer to obesity, type 2 diabetes to Alzheimer's and dementia, to mention just a few. So sleep is absolutely essential. And one of the most common comments and remarks from our patients is how much their sleep improves when they're under chiropractic care. But one question we get asked a lot of is, what is the best position to sleep in? And how many pillows should I use? So first off, with sleeping, the golden rule is to remember that your spine needs to be in a neutral position. What do I mean by a neutral position? Well, if we look at your spine from the front, we want to see that your spine is nice and straight. We don't want to see it leaning one way or the other. If we look at your spine from the side, we want to see your natural curves. So if you're facing this way, we want to see this nice hollow in your neck. We want to see a reverse curve, a kyphosis through your thoracic spine, a hollow in your lumbar spine, and then your sacrum tailing off the other way. So these are the positions, these are the curves we want to see your spine in when you're spending a third of your lives lying down. So how does this relate to you? Well, the first thing I got to say, if you're a front sleeper, that is a big no-no. Why? Because your spine is not in a natural position. Why? Because you have to turn your head to breathe. And the likelihood is, if you've been a front sleeper for any length of time, what will happen is you will favor one side over the other. In other words, as you're lying on your front, your body weight is basically stretching your head further and further and further to the side you're breathing on, which stretches these muscles, stretches these ligaments, and compresses the other side. So it's not a wonder after 6, 7, 8 hours of sleeping in that position, you get up in the morning and you can't turn your head to one side. Now, another problem with lying on your front is that it basically can compress your low back. It can cause low back issues from there. But also what happens is, because you're lying on your rib cage, it makes breathing more difficult. So you're basically decreasing how effective you're getting oxygen into your body. And remember, your brain requires and needs 25% of all the oxygen you're breathing in. So it's really, really important to make sure that breathing is easier from there. Now, the trouble is, if you've been sleeping on your front for any length of time, it's a really, really hard habit to kick. So one of the things I suggest you do is basically make use of a tennis ball or an apple. And literally you take the apple or the tennis ball and you pop it under your t-shirt or in your pajamas, and you basically put it around your belly button. And what happens then is, basically, even if you have all the intentions of staying on your side, as you fall asleep, your subconscious is going to pull you into what position it's used to, and that's going to involve rolling onto your front. But as soon as you roll onto your front, the tennis ball or the apple will wake you up. Now, be prepared, though, for maybe a few weeks of unbroken sleep, but it's a habit certainly worth trying to break. So persevere with it. At times, you're going to want to hurl that ball through the wall, but stick with it. Your health and your spine will basically benefit as a result of it. So what's the best position to be lying on or to be sleeping on? Either your left or your right side, it doesn't matter. And contrary to popular belief, lying on your side does not cause the compression of your organs. So how many pillows do you need? Well, it depends on just how broad your shoulders are. Because what you need to do, now, excuse my artwork behind here, but what you need to do is basically you need to fill the gap between your neck and the mattress and your head and the mattress. So if you have too many pillows, your head's going to be up here. If you've got too few, it's going to be down here. And both of these are not desirable. They're not good for you. So this is why so often these days you see these contoured pillows. And these contoured pillows work very well because they fill the gap between the mattress and your neck, as well as filling the gap between your head and the mattress. So these pillows work very nicely. Now, occasionally, if people are lying on their side, they may have low back issues. What you might find more comfortable is to put a pillow between your knees. That can certainly make this position a more neutral, more desirable position and a more comfortable position. So what about for people who sleep on their back? So one of the big problems that we see with people lying and sleeping on their back is that they lose these essential curves. In other words, what happens is if they're lying on their back like this, they have too many pillows, which basically stretches their head and their neck up this way. Now, why is this so bad? Well, if you remember, recall our previous videos on posture, this curve is what we call the arc of life. And this curve is essential because of how it affects your nervous system and your breathing. So what do we do most of these days? We're spending our lives in this sort of semi-flex position. Our heads are going forward. Our heads are getting heavier. That's compressing and putting pressure on our spinal cords. So this position is a big no-no. So the last thing you want to do is spend your 7-8 hours at night exacerbating an already forward head carriage. So what you've got to try and do is basically make sure you're only supporting the neck. So if this is you lying on your back, you want to fill the gap here, but only have a very thin support here. So again, a narrow, small contoured pillow would fit nicely with that. So this is key. And again, just to reiterate and just to highlight the importance of this, for those of you who've done a basic CPR course, after you've called for help, what is the first thing we do in the ABCs? Airways, breathing, and circulation. The first thing that you do with your patient is you tilt the head backwards. Why? Because that opens up the airways. Because one of the problems with lying flat on your back is because gravity is pulling your tongue downwards, that can also obstruct the airways. And that can contribute to snoring and sleep apnea. So the combination of gravity and losing that cervical curve can create major sleep problems. Another thing that happens when you're lying on your back is basically oftentimes it's going to cause low back issues because it's stretching the joints from there. Well, that basically can be alleviated by putting a pillow underneath your knees. So a very thin pillow if you're lying on your back to just support the curve in your neck. If you're lying on your side from there, you want to make sure you haven't too thick or too thin a pillow so that your spine is in a nice neutral position. And by all costs, at all costs, try and prevent and stop yourself from sleeping on your front. I hope that's of use. If you have any questions, again, reach out to us either through Facebook or through email. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay happy. And we'll speak to you tomorrow.